Book 101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. One of his advocacy helping people see not just who they are, but who they can become by turning life's hardest chapters into blueprints for resilience, growth, and purpose driven living. And of course, an author too. He is the author of the debut book, A Vision of Hope. No other than Mr. Andrew Drasen.
Hi, how you doing, Daniel? Thanks for having me on.
Fabulous, fabulous, Mr. Andrew, and thank you so much for being part on Book 101 review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah, my name's Andrew Drasen. I'm from Franklin, Wisconsin, born and raised. Throughout my late teens and 20s, I struggled with addiction, which led to incarceration and recidivism treatment. That whole merry-go-round. So that's actually where this book was born. It was written while I was behind bars, and it was written the last time I was locked up in 2019, and the treatment that came afterwards. I set a goal to finish it before I was released. Ended up finishing it 5 minutes before getting out, and so here we are.
Here we are, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more empowering books like this to come. The title meaning A Vision of Hope implies a turning point. What is the initial vision or moment or clarity that showed you a path forward from your past? And how did it differ from simply wishing things were better?
Well, I mean, honestly, I'd say the writing of this book was the first really. I guess I can't say the first, but it was a big turning point for me. It helped me channel my energy into doing something productive. It was a very healing and cathartic experience for me. And as I finished it, I as I was writing it, I got a lot of interest from the other inmates, and some of my cellmates I'd read passages to, and just like listening to their genuine emotion that was expressed as I shared it. I realized that it could be more. And so I was actually asked to give the commencement speech during the graduation ceremony for that treatment, and I read a section of this book, and I mean, I ended up getting two standing rounds of ovation, and I mean, it was just a very gratifying experience. And I realized that if it could resonate with people, like a saying that I really like is a smart man learns from his mistakes, where a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So. Lord knows I've made my share of mistakes. So, hopefully this can be a learning lesson for folks who are either heading down that path, or for folks who are already there, just as kind of a blueprint, and showing that no matter how far gone you are, that as long as you have hope and are willing to take the next step forward, your life can change.
Mr. Andrew, the word redemption means different things to different people. How do you personally define it in the context of your story? Is it internal shift, an external action, or both?
I'd say it's a little bit of both. It's for me, it was taking that shift from blaming others for my situation, and not taking accountability, to really taking an honest look at what I've done, why I've done it, what I was thinking and what I was feeling when I've done it, so I can learn from it, and then making different actions going forward, and atoning. I think that's a big thing. You know, like we've all wronged people in the past, and it's our job to, leave the world better than we found it. So, the more wrong that we've done, the more right that I feel like we got to do. So,
To fully appreciate the transformation, can you describe the person you were at your lowest point? What did you believe about yourself and your future?
I didn't believe I had a future. I didn't think about the future. I mean, at my lowest point, I mean, I was injecting heroin every day and selling it. And, like I didn't know if I was going to get locked up or overdose or live to see the next day. So, I mean, that was probably my lowest point. Um, that or the immediate aftermath. When I was sitting in jail, and my plea bargain was for 7 years in, 5 years out after I did my revocation time. So they're asking for a total of 9 years in. And even then I still had hope. I was still, I feel like I'm an eternal optimist. I was looking at, okay, worst case scenario, I'll get out when I'm like 33. I'll be in excellent shape. Maybe I'll get to a work release for a couple of years and save up a good amount of money, and I'll be able to get out and at least be able to get back on my feet. And thankfully it didn't go that way, but like that was definitely a turning point.
Was there a single defining rock bottom moment that forced you to confront your need to change, or was it a series of smaller realization that build over time?
It was a small series of realizations for me. I'd learned some things from previous relationships. I'd learned some things from previous employers of, previous habits and, actions that I took or didn't take. And, kind of the effect that it had on me. So, that's kind of one thing that I'm big on is that we take a look at what happens to us and what we choose to do with what happens to us, so we can continue to learn and grow. Because the day that we stop growing is the day that we stop living, in my opinion.
Mr. Andrew, for someone listening or watching who feels trapped in their own cycle of pain or mistake, what was the first smallest, most actionable step you took toward redemption?
Getting honest with myself and with others. But I mean, it all starts with self-honesty. If we're not able to take an accurate look at what's going on in our lives, what role we're playing with it, what we'd like to change, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, then we have no baseline to go off of. So I'd say that's the first real step to change is identifying what needs to be changed.
Often, the hardest person to forgive is ourselves. How do you navigate the immense challenge of self forgiveness and realizing the shame of your past?
Um, I try not to have shame. Like I said, I feel like a more effective way is to just learn from the outcomes of our actions and our interactions, and use that to kind of hone our future choices. Shame, it can keep us stuck. Especially, the one thing that I talk about in the book is labels and how they kind of impact our psyche. Um, for me, I had to shed the label of addict, criminal, felon. Um, and those can kind of become self-fulfilling prophecies. And when people hear those terms, they all automatically get this preconception in their head about who this person is and what their thoughts are, what their beliefs are. And a lot of times we attach to those beliefs our own right. If enough people tell us, we're a duck, we might start believing we're a duck after a while. So, I forget what the original question was, but um,
You did a great job, Mr.
All right.
Andrew. You did a great job. So, how did you begin to reframe your past struggles not as a weight holding you down, but as the very foundation for your purpose?
Well, we got to own it. Like we can't change what we did or, what happened to us or what the outcomes were. All we can do is help that impact what we do in the present and the future. And as I said, like as was writing the book and getting the feedback, I realized that it could help people. And it's actually kind of expanded from there. And I've developed a 90-day curriculum around the book. There's a companion book, and then I also built a workbook around it. And from there, I'm actually building a virtual school community where my hope is that folks will join, and it will be a place of positivity where people can share their wins, they can share things that they're struggling with, and just get support from their community. And it's going to be pretty versatile. I plan on being able to offer it, to like the Department of Corrections, treatment centers, community leaders, faith-based organizations. It's pretty customizable, so I'm pretty excited for that.
Mr. Andrew, who or what was your anchor during this transformation? Was it a person, a faith, a community, or something else that you could consistently rely on?
Hmm. So, I mean, I guess I'd say during my last, during the writing of the book, which is when I'd say like the big shift really kind of started occurring. I mean, it was faith. It was faith that, what was happening was meant to happen, because the fact is we can't see every scenario or every version of our lives play out. So we can't say what's best. All we can do is trust and have faith that what we go through is what we're meant to go through in order to become who we're meant to become. So um, I definitely, faith is something where it used to be a bad word for me. If someone said God, I'd almost like recoil, a little bit. And, it took me a long time to realize that, I could define God and define what my relationship to God looks like. Um, so yeah.
Mr. Andrew, why was writing this book and publicly sharing your story a necessary part of your own healing and purpose? What did the act of writing it do for you?
Well, it was definitely a healing process. It was the first time that I shed tears for the loss of my paternal grandmother, for my maternal grandfather. It helped me relive everything. I mean, honestly, as I wrote it, it brought me right back to all of those situations, and it helped me kind of see things with a new clarity as I wrote it. I mean, I was right back there. I was thinking what I thought, and feeling what I felt, and it was very vivid. So just kind of being able to relive that and see it through eyes where I kind of already know what the outcome is, it definitely was a healing process.
The healing process for sure. Did you have a specific person in mind when you wrote this book?
No, not really. I just wanted to tell my story, and I wanted to tell it honestly. Um, that was something that I was pretty intentional on, is being very honest about what I thought, what I felt, what exactly happened, and what the outcomes were. But no, I can't say that I had a specific person in mind when writing it. Um, Other than I just wanted to, like I said, I wanted to get it out. Even if I didn't publish it, I wanted to at least be able to say I wrote it. And actually, my mother and I, we had talked about co-writing a book for some years before I ended up writing this one. And one side was going to be her version or her perspective, flip it over. The other side was going to be my perspective. I found myself behind bars with the time and the will, so I decided to write it.
And thank you for sharing to the world, Mr. Andrew. What would you say to someone who hears hope and redemption and feels too late for them?
As long as there's air in your lungs, change is possible. It all starts with belief, and then it starts with taking even the smallest of steps, but the smallest of steps towards building that life that you want for yourself. Just don't give up hope, because once hope is lost, there's nothing left.
Yes, people don't give up hope because hope is always in the corner. And Mr. Andrew, as advocating, helping others, and as well as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, my short term goals are to have a successful launch in December, to get the school community up and running, to find a few pilot programs to pilot the 90-day curriculum that I put together, and then the longer term goals are to kind of widen it from helping individuals to helping to heal our broken systems. In the book, I talk about policy quite a bit, and I give some actionable steps that I think that we could take to help improve the quality of life for all people, in at least in the United States, and in turn, that helps the rest of the world. So, and the goal isn't even necessarily for people to adopt my specific policy suggestions. It's more to open up that conversation and working towards real solutions to the problems instead of continuously kicking the can down the road.
Well, good luck to your goals, Mr. Andrew, and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be an author like you as well as advocating helping other?
Well, if you want to be an author, just start writing it. Don't worry about it being perfect. That's what editing is for. Just get it written, and it's a longer road than a lot realize. There's a lot more steps involved, but the first step is getting it written. So, again, don't worry about it being perfect. Just get the base text written, and then go from there. Um, and then there was a second part of the question. It was advice for authors. What was the second part?
Advocating people, helping people, others.
Yeah, and I mean that's really what it's all about. I mean, we all need help at some point in our life, and I'd just I'd say find something that you care about, that you wouldn't mind donating your time, effort, money, energy, whatever it is to, and just making that a part of your routine. Um, if more of us gave back, there'd be a lot less that are needy, in my opinion.
Thank you for that advice, Mr. Andrew. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yeah, I read pretty much like everything by Michael Crichton. I really liked his work. I know that's a fairly different genre, but I liked how he would mix in teaching people along with making the story entertaining. Another one, again, very different genre, but Harlot's Ghost by Norman Mailer. It was a long book, but it was like the best spy book that I ever read. So I definitely recommend checking out Michael Crichton or Harlot's Ghost.
Definitely, and thank you for that recommended books. Mr. Andrew, for someone listening who wants to support a loved one on their own path to redemption, what is the most powerful thing they can do and what should they avoid?
Um, I'd say listen with empathy and understanding. Even if you can't understand, like even if you're not able to put yourself in their shoes, just listen from a place of non-judgment. um, yeah, I mean, that's, and then don't enable, don't enable bad behavior, bad thinking patterns, things like that. Tell people how it actually is, but from a place of love and understanding and compassion.
Mm, yes. Love and compassion is the key, people. What was the most emotionally challenging part of revisiting your past to write this book? What was the most empowering part?
The most empowering part,
Yes.
I mean, definitely sharing it with the community during the commencement speech, and the reception that I got from that. That was very, very empowering, and it was very encouraging and really strengthened, the fact that I could do something with this and I could impact people. And that's really ultimately what I want to do. I just want to help people improve their lives and improve society. And, in the end, we're remembered by the impact that we made on others, not what we had, or where we took a vacation to, or like how big our house was, or anything like that. No one remembers that. It's how you made people feel and the impact that you had on their lives.
Empowering answer. Mr. Andrew. Totally, totally uplifting. Is there a particular passage or chapter in the book that you feel so absolute heart of your message? Can you tell us about it?
Well, I think that the book ties to, because it almost reads like a train wreck in the middle. So the first part of it is going to look back at kind of my childhood, my family life. Then we get into kind of my high school years and where things started to go downhill. Then we get into kind of like the drug court years when I in and out of treatment, and I was sentenced to drug court. Then at the very end, it just kind of ties it all together, because the structure is different than a lot of other books. So there are journal entries which break up, or they're interwoven within the chapter entries. So the chapter entries look back, the journal entries chronicle in real time my story through getting locked up all the way through the treatment. So at the end, I feel like it really ties it all together and just really strengthens that vision of hope.
The vision of hope, for sure. And before we wrap up our discussion today, Mr. Andrew, I'm inviting you to please listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Music 101 and Science 101 are in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Andrew, ultimately, what is the one feeling or call to action you hope lingers with every reader long after they turned the final page?
Again, that change is possible with themselves, with their family members, and with society as a whole, and that we can all play our part to see that change that we want to see.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Andrew Drasen. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your a vision of hope?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can sign on for the newsletter or pre order the book. Visit avisionofhopebook.com. You can also find updates on the school community. Just follow along at avisionofhopebook.com.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Andrew Drasen because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Andrew, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Daniel. Have a great night.
More to come, people. See you soon.